The summer of 2025 sees Liverpool actively strengthening their squad, aiming to maintain their power both in the domestic league and in European competitions. In their squad building plans, one of their most important strategic targets is Marc Guehi, the key centre-back of Crystal Palace. His consistent form and ability to marshal the defence make him an ideal choice for Liverpool to reinforce their backline, especially in a grueling season with a congested fixture schedule. The transfer deal seemed all but complete when Marc Guehi had even finished his medical and reached a personal agreement with Red Brigade. However, at the last minute, the deal collapsed unexpectedly, leaving both the media and football fans stunned. This decision directly impacted Liverpool's plans to strengthen their defence, sparking a heated debate over the interests of smaller clubs and the importance of managing key players in the transfer market. Right from the beginning of the summer of 2025, Liverpool made it clear that reinforcing their defence was a top priority, as Ibrahima Konate had been struggling with recurring injuries, while Virgil van Dijk was entering the twilight of his peak career. In that context, Marc Guehi emerged as a key target. His solid defensive abilities, composed style of play, and leadership qualities were seen as the perfect piece for manager Arne Slot's rebuilding plans at Anfield. Negotiations unfolded swiftly and efficiently. The English press unanimously confirmed that Liverpool and Crystal Palace had reached an agreement worth £35 million plus a 10% sell-on clause, a figure considered reasonable given that Guehi's contract runs until 2026. On the player's side, according to TalkSport, Guehi had already accepted personal terms a month earlier, signaling his desire to leave Selhurst Park for a club competing in the Champions League. This only strengthened the belief that the deal was virtually done. The peak of anticipation came when Guehi was spotted at Liverpool's London office to undergo his medical. It was the final step before the official announcement, and the English media had even prepared their welcome articles for the England defender's arrival at Anfield. In the eyes of the fans, everything seemed locked in: the transfer fee, the personal terms, even images of Guehi in Liverpool red were already imagined. If everyone believed Marc Guehi would soon be a Liverpool player. Then in the final hours of the transfer window, Crystal Palace staged a dramatic U-turn that stunned the football world. The turning point of the deal came from manager Oliver Glasner himself, who firmly opposed letting his captain and defensive leader leave. The reason was clear: Palace had failed in their attempts to sign two replacement centre-backs over the summer. Most notably, Igor Julio from Brighton opted to join West Ham instead of making the switch to Selhurst Park. In that situation, Glasner exerted heavy pressure on the board, even threatening to resign if Guehi were sold. This forced Palace to make a firm decision, pulling out of the deal even though Liverpool had already submitted the request for an extension of the transfer deadline until 9 p.m. Just one step away from completion. The move collapsed as Palace chose to keep their leader. Behind this decision lay a strategic calculation. Guehi is not only an outstanding centre-back but also the captain and spiritual symbol of the club. He had just enjoyed a historic season with Palace, lifting the FA Cup after a 1-0 victory over Manchester City and then defeating Liverpool in the Community Shield on penalties. For Glasner, selling Guehi would have meant dismantling not only the structure of his defence but also the fighting spirit within the dressing room. Therefore, even at the risk of losing Guehi for free when his contract expires in 2026, Palace accepted the gamble, valuing the presence of their defensive rock more than any transfer fee. For Liverpool, Guehi's dramatic U-turn was a genuine shock. They were only waiting for the official announcement when Crystal Palace suddenly pulled out, leaving the Reds with the feeling of having the deal snatched away at the last second. The English media reacted strongly, with many outlets calling it the biggest disappointment of deadline day, as almost everyone believed Guehi was bound for Anfield. Some pundits even compared it to a once-in-a-lifetime scenario in the Premier League. Proof that in the transfer market, nothing is certain until the contract is signed. On Liverpool's side, coach Arne Slot was forced to face a difficult situation. Although clearly disappointed, he remained composed, insisting that the team still had enough depth in defense. His words were backed up by a 1-0 victory over Arsenal, reinforcing the belief that Liverpool have the capacity to rotate effectively during the early stages of the season. Guehi's failure to join Anfield left Liverpool on the back foot in the short term. Instead of adding a top-class centre-back to reinforce the defence, coach Arne Slot was forced to rotate with the players already at his disposal. First, Virgil van Dijk continues to lead the defense as an irreplaceable figure. At 34, Van Dijk still maintains a high level of performance. But the physical burden could become a risk if he has to play continuously in both the Premier League and the Champions League. In addition, Ibrahima Konate serves as the second-choice centre-back. The main concern lies in his history of recurring injuries. Liverpool understand that they cannot fully rely on him over the course of a long season. An unexpected name who has become crucial is Joe Gomez, the English centre-back who was seemingly set to move to AC Milan in this transfer window. However, Guehi's failure to arrive turned him into an important backup option. Gomez's continued presence helps Liverpool maintain depth and demonstrates that the club still values his versatility. Finally, Giovanni Leone, the £26 million newcomer from Torino, brings hope for the future. The young player has recently been called up to the Italian national team and possesses great potential. But his lack of Premier League experience means he is not yet ready to take on a key role. Putting yourself in Guehi's shoes, it's clear that this situation brings a mix of conflicting emotions. He had already agreed to personal terms with Liverpool, signaling a clear desire to test himself at a major club competing for titles, and especially to play in the Champions League. For a 25-year-old centre-back entering the prime of his career, this represented a significant step forward. However, with Crystal Palace deciding to block the transfer, Guehi must remain with the club at least until the January transfer window. In this position, his mindset is undoubtedly complicated. Yet, as captain and a spiritual leader following the FA Cup triumph, Guehi understands that responsibility comes first. He must continue to give his all for the team and maintain stability in the dressing room. In the long term, Guehi still holds the advantage if he does not renew his contract. From January 2026, he will have the right to negotiate freely with any club without Palace's permission. This opens up far greater opportunities in terms of both his next destination and contract value. In the short term, he will focus on performing on the pitch, but his future is almost certainly tied to a major club, with Liverpool remaining the most likely suitor. In football history, there have been quite a few transfer deals that seemed certain but collapsed at the last minute, leaving fans and experts alike with regret and surprise. One of the most notable examples is David De Gea's move to Real Madrid in 2015. The Spanish goalkeeper was ready to leave Manchester United for the Santiago Bernabeu. But the entire deal fell through simply because the fax machine failed to send the contract in time. Another case is Nabil Fekir's transfer to Liverpool in 2018. The deal had been fully agreed upon, and the French midfielder had even posed for his unveiling photos. But it was ultimately cancelled after Liverpool discovered issues during his medical examination. Or take Thomas Lemar's failed move to Arsenal in 2017, when the Gunners thought they had secured the Monaco star for a record fee, only for everything to collapse just minutes before the transfer window closed. The case of Marc Guehi and Liverpool in 2025 is a different story. Personal terms had been agreed, the medical completed, yet the transfer collapsed because Crystal Palace suddenly pulled out, driven by manager Oliver Glasner's determination to keep his captain and the club's failure to secure a replacement. This was a rare situation where the cause lay in the selling club's strategic decision rather than the player himself or medical concerns. The impact of this twist is clear. Liverpool lost a key piece of their defensive reinforcement plan and were left on the back foot with the season already underway. On the other hand, Palace kept their leader in the dressing room, preserving morale after a historic campaign. But they now face the financial risk of losing Guehi for free in 2026. As for the player, he missed the chance to step into the spotlight at Anfield, with the dream of Champions League football postponed. Still, given the groundwork already laid, many predict that Guehi will eventually leave Palace, and Liverpool remains the most likely destination in the near future.